One of the biggest critiques I hear most frequently about the Lord of the Rings trilogy isn't that they stray too far from the books, or that Faramir is way different, or that the entire journey through the Old Forest was cut. No, the biggest gripe I hear most often is that the movies are too long and that no one wants to sit through 3 movies that are around 3 hours in length, let alone sit through the extended editions, which adds another 2 hours of footage. And my response is always the same. The Lord of the Rings trilogy isn't too long, they're not long enough. So why do I say this? How can a trilogy that contains 11 hours of footage possibly feel too short? Well, the biggest reason is simple. Every aspect of this trilogy is so captivating, so immersive, and so deeply rooted in Tolkien's world that I never feel like I'm waiting for it to end. I feel like I'm being pulled deeper and deeper into a place I don't want to leave. Every location feels real, every culture feels lived in, and almost every character feels like they have an entire story happening beyond what the camera is showing us. And that is rare. How often do we actually get a fantasy adaptation like this? How often does someone take a world as rich, beloved, complicated, and intimidating as Tolkien's Middle-earth and actually pull it off? We've had other attempts, such as this one, which I'm personally not a fan of, and some of the animated versions have their own charm, and I personally do enjoy the Hobbit trilogy more than a lot of people do. But nothing else has captured Middle-earth with the same weight, beauty, and emotion and seriousness as the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. These films don't feel like they were just made to cash in on a popular story or check off a list for a studio. They feel like they were made by people who genuinely understood that Tolkien's world deserved respect. Sure, there are major differences between the books and the movies, but overall, Peter Jackson and his entire crew treated this story with respect to Tolkien. And maybe respect is the key word here, because even with all the changes, cuts, and differences from the books, these movies still feel like they are trying to honor the heart of Tolkien's story. They are not just fantasy action movies, they are about friendship, sacrifice, temptation, courage, mercy, grief, hope, and the quiet strength of ordinary people doing impossible things. That's why the length does not bother me. The slower moments are not wasted time. The lingering shots of landscapes, the conversations around campfires, the songs, the silence, the glances between characters, all of it helps make Middle-earth feel alive. And even at 11 hours, there's still so much the movie simply could not include. We don't get the Old Forest, we don't get Tom Bombadil, we don't get the Barrow Downs. We lose many of the smaller details from the journey with Aragorn as the hobbits evade the Ringwraiths. We don't get the scurrying of the Shire, which is one of the most important and painful endings in the book. And beyond those major omissions, there are dozens of smaller scenes, conversations, and character moments that help deepen our understanding of Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, Aragorn, Boromir, Faramir, Éowyn, Theoden, and so many others. So when someone says these movies are too long, I get what they mean on a practical level. I do. Yes, they are long movies. Yes, they require time. And yes, watching the extended editions is basically an entire day if you do it all at once. But to me, that is part of what makes them so special. Movies are supposed to let us step outside the stress, noise, and routine of normal life for a while and enter into something meaningful. And with The Lord of the Rings, I don't just want the plot points, I want the world. Like Bilbo, I want the mountains, the forests, the halls of kings, the quiet friendship, the impossible hope, and that feeling of being completely surrounded by a world that feels older, simpler, grander, and more beautiful than the one we live in day to day. So no, I don't think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is too long. I think it is one of the few stories where 11 hours still feels like we were only given a glimpse. And every time the credits roll, I'm not relieved that it's over. I just wish I could stay in Middle-earth a little bit longer.